Good evening. No, good morning again. It's the 28th of May. It's about 9:30. It's probably wrong actually. This watch has stopped again. I need to get another watch. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a stupid accent because I want to find this funny because I'm sick to the back teeth of this, the whole thing. It's not over for me yet, but it's everything that can be done has been done. So I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to do it in a Jamaican accent, only because I spent a lot of time with West Indians when I was a youngster, particularly in Reading. And a major mentor of mine was a West Indian who was ex-forces, ex-RAF. And he opened my eyes to a lot of, to a world that I probably wouldn't have had access to. Certainly not in them days, because tensions in Reading now and again were quite volatile, because it was in the days of Toxteth and Brixton riots and things like that. So I was quite privileged, especially looking like this, and I was quite bored then. Right, okay, so this is a story that I want to tell. You just want to whisper it in your ear, me not want to yell. No, that won't work. So listen, so here's this guy. He moves to a house. He's got mental problems insofar as, he's had a challenging life, like a lot of you have as well. I'm not the only one, and the older I get, the more I find out that people have poo in their background. Lots of smelly, stinky poo, just like you. So, okay, a couple of years ago, it was 2022, a couple of things happened to this guy. In his past, he had a big kind of changing event that happened, and he's been trying to work it out, and he's been confused by it all his life. Doesn't believe or has grave concerns about the narrative of what happened, and he has done ever since. And his experiences in life have not really placated that, if you like. Now, I'm going to turn the lens around because A, you can watch Roxy being dead cute, and two, my face isn't relevant to this, except that you accept that I the way I look. Okay, thanks. Hang on, let's turn this around. Right, so hey, right, ready? Pirouette? No, just standard jump. Okay, all right. No, so look. So in 2022, this person, well, me, I had, it was the anniversary of my mum's death, and her friends, waitresses, cleaning tables and serving food at a military establishment 3 weeks after a massive incident involving that unit, a very, very robust, well-respected unit, very tough unit, don't get caught out unit, look after their own unit. But a guy got in with a car bomb and blew our mother apart and her friends, and the bomb went off early, and the guardroom log for the day went missing, and they caught the bloke very quickly, and he died in prison of a heart attack, and he had some unusual he had some things going in the background, like he wasn't your standard IRA Republican, he was a communist, I think. Noel Jenkinson. Anyway, so it was a bad time. I've been trying for years to get the memorial unmilitarized, because there are lots of monuments and memorials and statues of guns and tanks and generals and horses, and they won the Battle of Dingy Didu in 1873 and the Battle of Ungi Pangi Bongi in 1547, which didn't even involve us, but we built a statue to it anyway and put it in Aldershot. But 5 women get blown apart, a gardener and 1 military gentleman, and I believe he was a gentleman, and it gets all but ignored, really. Anyway, I'd been in contact with the Parachute Regiment Association about saying a few words to a couple of relatives, or even my dog, at the ceremony, or just after, or whatever. But I went to this ceremony and it was the same narrative. This is what happened. There you go. There's the programme. The names of the people that died are in the front cover. They're just the name. But we'll tell you about the Blues and Rolls and the Argyll and Bolton Wanderers and the history of Aldershot. But we won't talk about this because. So I lost that battle again. but I fought it for 20 odd years, kind of quietly. I didn't lob grenades about or get an arm standoff with the police. Not interested. The police don't interest me. There are as much victims in what this travesty of a society is as anybody. Anyway, I'm digressing. Okay, so first of all, my tools, matron. I'm not going to do a thing of the garage. There's no real valuable stuff in there, but some sentimental stuff that means well, nothing to me really. Nothing does anymore, except you, Rox. Oh, don't tell the authorities; they'll definitely take your dog away. Right, so let me explain something. Right, so this guy loses his shit, and I'll tell you why he lost his shit. He's been dealing with Exeter City Council for several years now. After he moved in here, that's another story in other videos. And what he came across was abject corruption, but that's another story. So he's basically decided that not only does he not live in his house anymore, he uses it for business because the authorities have taken away his driving licence, despite him being a 40% then disabled ex-forces criminal. I'm a criminal. I've been in prison for a civil offence at the behest of my first wife. I brought an injunction which I didn't know she was going to take out on me, because I told her I was getting out, I was leaving, I was going. I'd still be here to see Daniel, but I'm going to get out and about because I can't live here because I'm not a domesticated guy, and you trapped me when you threatened to commit suicide. And I came out with you one night and said, it's okay, I'm not going anywhere, but I can't go out with you because I'm not ready and I don't want that, and I did today. But then I didn't want the guilt of somebody potentially doing something. So I came back to you. And I put paid to my army career. Still, at least I'm not stupid. Right, so they're the tools that I have, and they're replenished, or they're just old things and battened together. Now this, from memory, is the thing that I picked up. Now what happened was, this was a hoe. Oh, a hoe which was attached by its head, you see, and the hoe head carried on like that. Hang on, that carried on like that does. Not exactly the same, obviously, but it had a configuration which is used in many wide and varied nations to achieve I can't think of a word. Anyway, so this here, you can see the size of the place here, right? Okay, so there's a lot of parking, a lot of stuff, a dog as well. No idea whose dog that is. So what happens is because my mental capacity is a little bit diminished now, what I do is wander about doing jobs, like I waffle. And I leave stuff and I move on to something else. And at the end of the day, I have a routine where I go around the property, and anything that can be sort of nicked or anything I can use, I don't mean nicked by me, it's on my own property, but anything that's lying about, I'll put that there. So I'll either put it over here so it can be repaired, repairy place. Very much me that's doing the repairs, so it's normally fucking end up in the skip place. That's my drive, that's important. Okay, so I had a motorhome here. It's parked where these tools are. It was an old French thing, which my lovely neighbours, I'm not going to focus on their houses, they're private. But my neighbours helped me clean it up, and I decided I had to live somewhere else because the council seemingly, intentionally and by design made this new facility, new improved safer facility for skateboarders, or I dispute that, to be honest. A couple of items I've pointed out in videos, and yes, I'm an anorak. I'm a criminal, a drunk, a wife beater, but I've also been a site manager for 30 odd years, and now and again I was reasonably good. I never lost anybody on any of my jobs apart from from one suicide. Go on, put it down. Good girl. Good girl. Right. Oh, there you go. Right, okay. Come here. Sit down. Sit down. Wait. Oh, good girl. Right, so the gates. So it's a large drive. The problem I've got here is the gates are halfway up the drive, okay, which is a bit of a pain in the arse because if I was a kid and I was a skateboarder leaving the skate park and there's a little ramp there, I'd be up and down it, and they do. Okay, which is why I don't live in the bungalow, because I don't want altercation. So here's the gates. Now what I do at night is I go just have a look. If I'm not absolutely drunk out of my head, I just do a little tour, make sure everything's put away, there's nothing left out in the open that's going to be crushed or driven over or cause a puncture or whatever. And on this particular day, I'd been out here. The camper van's over there by where them tools are, big white thing, about 40 odd years old. It was I called it my escape vehicle. Imagine that. I've worked all my life to have a decent house. Yes, it's falling apart, but it's a sanctuary for me because I had some wounds to lick and some self-pity to get rid of. Yep, self-pity, because I'm all sorry for myself because life's not been a bed of roses for me, just like it hasn't for you. Right, so notice that the gates are on a slope, so therefore you can only close them or secure them by bringing them towards you. Bear that in mind. So what I've done is I've got a camper van. I've been away working in Cornwall. I've been going home to this little digs thing, and we're staying with another manager who's a Glaswegian Iranian. There you go, there's a combination. He was a cracking lad, and it was nice. You know, you lock the door at night, watch your telly, or he goes out and sees friends or whatever. And because he'd been working down there a long time, I was just an itinerant site manager helping out for cover. And it was a nice little gig, and locking the door and then going to bed or watching telly and knowing you've got a better than average chance of being left alone all night kind of opened my eyes. I thought, this is what I should be living like. I shouldn't be living, this is where I live, okay? This is the house or the bungalow. It's nothing special, you'll agree. And then over here you go into a side entrance. I'll come to this again later, and you come into a barbecue area, which I can't use it because of the noise of the people doing the skateboarding. It's not their fault, they're just doing the activity. That's what I wanted. That's why I bought this place. That's why I didn't worry about the skate park, because I thought they'll take care of business, they'll be all right. So I've got that between me and what happens out on the street, because I can't deal with it. I can't always negotiate with people who are on drugs or drunk, like I've been for like a lot of times over the last few years. That's a summer house I live in, and I live there because I got used to it when I was living with somebody who didn't really care very much for me. Oh, that doesn't work, by the way, it's beyond repair. So if you're going to try and nick it, don't bother. Besides, this place is cameraed up to shit because I don't have police protection, so I have to protect myself, and I fully intend to if anybody comes to rob me or harm me or my dog. So as you can see, the gate's open towards the road. That's important. So I poured a load of paint out down here because the council refused any engagement regarding concerns regarding this facility. Any. Just ignored it. It was all an objection, which they used that terminology because an objection has to be raised before planning's accepted. Hang on, I've just got a ball situation here. So there's the ramp. As you can see, it's quite a steep ramp, and obviously it's quite enticing for the skateboarders. I get that, and of course you've got a tunnel there as well, so they can go and use that when it's dry. And I don't want to know about it. I don't want to hear clankety bang at night and clunk bang. Kabang, which is what the council have done on purpose. Now, the current leader of Exeter City Council came down here early days, I think the day the place opened. And there was a big gang of lads down there, and I went down and had a chat with them. It was all amicable at first. Oh, what do you think of the skate park? Like, oh, great. I said, well, you know, I can understand you come down and use this, but I'll make a racket, doesn't it? Yeah. So it's right in front of them old people's houses. You know, do you not think it bothered, would you not bother your own grandparents? We haven't got any fucking grandparents. And then they just descended. I mean, they're kids, that's what they do. I was probably no different. I was probably worse. So, yeah, I poured paint. Oh, so I meant to go out there and show you. Let me do it again, sorry. There is some there. I did clean it off the next day. before I knew what the police were going to come up with. So they didn't listen to antisocial behaviour, and we all know what happened to my friend Paul English, referred to other videos. Now, I think there's still some there. There you go. It's not very good, but I put a line of paint down, where is it? There. And I put a line of paint over here. And you can just see the faint outline of the paint there. So you've got a line of paint there, you've got a line of paint here to designate the fact that there was no mitigation made for any of the traffic that was going to go past here on a new. Roxy, for fuck! Roxy, stay there. Yeah, no mitigation, no survey. There's kids, prams, commuters, electric bikes, scooters going past here at certain times of the day. You've got a lot of elderly people live in these houses. And coming out of these drives is bad enough with the pinch point, but a lot of these drives don't give a lot of good view. And the amount of times you see people nearly get clattered now. A near miss means you have raised an eyebrow and you have a bit of banter and it's all good, but that doesn't always happen like that, especially when some people aren't always too enamoured at being almost planted into the front of the car as some old guy comes out of his drive and wants to remonstrate if there's a bunch of his mates with him to show off. Now, I've had a dog in the car. When I was allowed to drive by the great authorities, I used to have Roxy in the car, and people actually say, "I'll punch your dog in the face." So, mate, I'm trying to get out of my drive. You were right up against the wall. That's why you had to swerve. There was no other traffic. You listen to your iPhones. There's no harm done, mate, but I can't get out of my drive any other way than to see, to crawl out inch by inch. But you can't have that sort of conversation. And I don't want it. So I live in a summer house. I'm quite happy there. It's very awkward in the winter. It's freezing. Any ablutions I've got to do, I don't have the money to put it all in the summer house, so I have to go into the main house, which I use as an income, such as I can. So those gates close inwards. So when the police screeched up like the 7th Cavalry, based on intel, they said, that I was an ex this and ex that, underwater double parachuted with flip-flops, and I was nothing. I was a Royal Engineer, combat engineer, and I did commando training for 10 months. That's it. All right? And I've done security work, and I've done, not bouncing, I'm not big enough. Don't throw the ball on the road, because I have to keep going out there like a melon. Come here. Come here. Come here. So based on 40-year-old intelligence, they screeched down to the, let me just show you, screeched the path. I'm walking about in the garden. I am pissed because I had to be pissed to do that, because I thought I'm going to stick a middle finger up to these bastards that are chasing me away from my home. You can just see above the bridge the acoustic barrier, which took us 2 years, and a petition after the petition took a further 2 years to get the council to build an acoustic barrier. Now look at the height of that barrier, right? Now I know it sounds anorak, but if you took that barrier away, when you walk up the road behind me, you can actually see, yeah, exactly, you can actually see the people on top of the bridge, or they appear to be on top of the bridge. Actually in the background where that green screen is, you can see all the lads up there, mainly lads of course, doing skateboarding. Now they're not doing anything wrong.
It's not about the kids having fun.
It's nothing to do with that. That's the divide and rule shit. What it's to do with is people responsible intentionally reneging on their obligations to the public that they purport to serve, along with other commercial interests, other academic interests. But when people, and the people that are now coming home who hate me because they they don't understand what a man having a meltdown looks like, and why would they? They're the sort of people that are perfect fodder for people like this to dupe, deceive, and ignore. So the lady who's just come in with her partner, he was interviewed by some authority who said that, and he said to them, he's got a mental age of I don't know, I'd say 11 to 12, 13-year-old. He's not stupid, he just has that affliction. All right, that's not offensive. He's a nice, harmless man. All right, but they're very quiet. They're very Devon. They're very easygoing, very laid back. And she used to have to come out at 2 o'clock in the morning in her dressing gown and plead with the people, the men she could see above her front garden, on the ramps, across the railway line, and plead with them to go home because she had to be up for work at 5. This is about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Luckily, these two lads were good as gold. Yeah, oh, sorry, love. Yeah, we'll go. And they just went, which is great. But is that right? Is that, you know, a woman of approaching 70 years old has got to go and negotiate outside her front door to get 2 grown men to stop clanking and banging their skateboards at 20 metres from her house at 2 in the morning? It is not the skateboarder's fault. If there's a facility available, it's 24 hours a day, you'd use it. If it makes a clangety bang, that's skateboarding. That's what you do when you do the tricks. But these clowns must have known that, and if they didn't exercise due diligence. So the police turned up. I poured paint because I thought, right, when somebody does get hurt, at least they can say, well, this bloke did the protest. There were letters written to this council by a couple of people, just say, look, you know, there is a danger here. There is an issue. You need to at least look at it. What can be done? Because, or just leave it and just hope that it doesn't happen like you did with the antisocial behaviour that killed Mr. English, or that contributed to his early demise. Let's put it that way. And if you want to take me on and prove that you had nothing to do with it, and his interactions over his preceding few years had nothing to do with his deteriorating health and death, then good luck with that. And good luck with finishing me off as well, because that's when things really will start. I've got most of the bases I can think of covered. Rox will be taken care of. And I did allude to the fact that I just want her to have a few good years, and she will definitely get that regardless. So once you've put me out of my misery, then the game can start properly. And even given the events of the last few years, I'd much rather be in my flip-flops than some other people involved in this. That is a definite. Anyway, what happened was the police turned up. I expected a ring on the doorbell, so I said, yep, I poured paint and rubbish. I was drunk. I poured paint and rubbish everywhere. It's a protest. They won't do anything about the fact that, sorry, I'm spinning around. So this is what happened. Once I saw the demeanour of the police and the way they turned up, bear in mind, I'm dressed in a dressing gown, I'm just beaming about my garden, there's a load of rubbish out the front, there's 2 lines of paint. Well, they weren't actually, you know, put in with a theodolite. I lobbed 2 tins of paint on either side of my drive on the pavement. So when the police turn up, I'm just bimbling about. I think Rox is out the back. I'm just having to clear up, and I picked up that pole, which was the one I showed you, which was out here somewhere. Look at all the weed you got to do between these lines. For a house I wouldn't have bought, actually, if I had the proper survey done, which I'd pay for, but they didn't provide it. So you shut the gates like this. No, you pull them towards you. There's a thing there, right? You take that out, fucking hell, and put them towards you and lock it. So that's the situation that's my point of view, right? So the police car pulls up, there, screeches to a halt, a little copper jumps out, runs around his bonnet like Starsky Nuts, screaming and bawling. Other cars are pulling up. He's got his taser out, he's not addressed me, he's just screaming. So I've shut the thing. I immediately dropped the hoe handle that I'd picked up, because years ago in London, you need to research this, years ago in London, a guy was shot dead in South London for carrying a chair leg in a carrier bag down a high street, and the police got the wrong end of the stick, literally, and shot him dead. So I dropped it and I ran away. Yep, ran away. I went through the door because it was right in the way. So I went through the door. Roxy, come here. Come here. And I ran through here. Through here. Through here. This door would have been open. And I just ran. The reason I ran, A, I didn't want to get shot. B, I wasn't expecting the police to turn up in that way. C, I didn't know that they had decided that the intelligence of 40 years ago was relevant to this issue, despite the fact they've been copied into a number of often quite disjointed and drunken emails rallying about the world, but basically focused on my interactions and the interactions of others in this matter with certain faces within Exeter City Council. That was my beef. End of. Period. Full stop. Apostrophe. Comma. Question mark. Exclamation mark. Sigh of exasperation. So I've run down here. Now, I didn't run down the path. I ran across the grass, and I had a pair of shorts on. I had some sort of footwear. I think flip-flops probably. And I ran up here, which is as far away from there as possible. So I've got all of that between me and the police, who have come here like they're on testosterone and steroids. And I left a trail, which is only the dressing gown, a grey dressing gown I left over there somewhere. And I went here. This is what I did. None of this stuff was here then. It was all, yeah. And I laid down in there. And I pulled some of this foliage over me, regulated my breathing and calmed down because I was shitting myself. I was really scared. Now, I had expected a ring on the doorbell, but again, Exeter City Police or Exeter Police don't do that. They don't ring on doorbells with me, but I'll come to that later. So, I was then arrested. I was due to appear in court. I cleaned up the mess the next day. I was kept in overnight. And I was expecting criminal damage and, you know, I don't know, disturbing the peace or something. Well, the police decided that I prepared for them by sharpening a pole, and I'll show you the pole again in a minute. Now, okay, it sharpened a pole. To do what? And then I sharpened the pole, and as soon as the police turn up, presumably as I had obviously expected, because I sharpened a pole, That was the intel they had, that I'd been dabbling with being a commando 40 years ago. Oh yeah, my brother had an armed standoff with the police in Streatham in 1996. I wonder if that intel was brought into it, because he has the same beef as me. Not with Exeter City Council, his was with the authorities because of their refusal to acknowledge what happened to our mother and her friends. But I'm not a hand grenadey, pistol-y type of guy. For one, your intelligence obviously didn't tell you that I was a combat engineer, a Royal Engineer for 4 years. And yep, got in lots of trouble, but I also learned a few things. So listen, if I was going to prepare for you, now that you've looked around the property, and now that you know that I was a combat engineer, would I not make my preparations in slightly different ways than an ex-Marine? Besides, an ex-Marine or a commando does training which is based primarily on his physical prowess and his ability and his endurance. That diminishes by the time you're 58. So what you were attending to was a 58-year-old project manager who's worked all over the world despite coming from a dysfunctional background, and has been engaged in a war of attrition, a very war of attrition with certain people in Exeter City Council because they are pursuing corrupt agendas. Corrupt. Now, this gets even more interesting. My probation officer at the time, because I've got a string of charges now relating to this, or my inability to mentally comprehend the fact that these people have no standing character-wise, have no principles morality-wise, I've no particular expertise except letters after their name because they went to some university at the behest of mummy and daddy. And they can implement schemes like blocking off roads in Hevertree and lying about the cost of repair to community centres or facilities they're involved with, like a big sports centre. I heard a rumour about a big sports centre with a ski ramp that some jiggery poking was afoot. I can't say what it was because I can't prove it. But this thing with Exeter City Council, with the current leader, with the environmental health officer, with the previous leader, can be proven 100%. I'm not going to use 1,000% or 150% because that's a misnomer. You see, you can't have more than 100% of anything because obviously you have more than the whole, don't you? So it's game over. Now, I probably won't live to see the retribution and the justice done, and there is no means of justice in this country or any country within our realm of experience. It is a myth, just the same as everything else you've been told over the last few years, and perhaps most of your history, it would turn out. And I believe that. And I'm a former serviceman. I was brought up in a military family. I'm as far removed from a conspiracy theorist as you can get. And my probation officer gave me an erroneous date for a probation session. This is Mrs. Marmite, as she's referred to by people I've spoken to or spoken to me about her. The date was incorrect. It was on a green card that they give you, and I came into the city, attended with my therapy dog, and I had explained to her that the punitive measures taken against me, like removing my driving licence, removing my mobility, and then hence removing my police protection, such as it was. I've never had any. I've had police victimisation, I've had police persecution. I'm not even black. I'm not even gay. I'm not pro this or anti that. I don't like a bit of that, and I'd rather not have so much of this, but I'm not a political person, and my life is being gradually airbrushed. And what will come out as this is 100% focused on the abject, in-your-face, blatant corruption of Exeter City Council, okay, and the people involved with excuse me, I don't care about the if there's stuff here you think you might be able to steal, crack on. Good luck. Roxy hears somebody closing a bedroom door in bloody Crediton at 2 o'clock in the morning, so and the cameras and stuff, you won't get anywhere near here. It's corruption. So the police are corrupt. We all know that. I mean, just ask or go on YouTube and look at what Gary Waterman says, ex-copper of 18 years. The girl from Manchester Police, I can't remember her name, Oliver, Sharon Oliver, I think her name is. Neil Oliver as well, no coincidence, I'm sure her name's Sharon Oliver. She's a very attractive detective sergeant or something, Manchester Police, who was very concerned about their somewhat inexplicable means of dealing with potential child trafficking up there. And this child trafficking thing seems to be coming up more and more in these much higher nefarious things. But I'm a sad bastard who is a lunatic, a deviant, a danger to society, a wife beater, a permanent drunk, because that's the labels that the authorities find most useful to remove my validity or my credibility. This is all going to come out, whether you like or not. Everything, bar nothing, is documented, even concerning Avon and Somerset Police and their transgressions against me when I ran out of fuel. I think it was Einstein said, or was it one of the laws of physics, to every action there is an opposite and equal reaction. I've tried to move away from even being associated as a man of violence. I've never been considered a man of violence. I've been considered a person you'd leave alone, you know, and that's what I wanted. because most of the people who are in my life or around my life at some point or another did harm to me. And a lot of you have been in similar situations. I'm not alone. I don't get the violin out. I'm not full of a desire for revenge, but this has to be righted. This is not the way people should live. And I'm fed up with defending myself, both verbally and in these videos and diaries. This is what I wanted, and I've earned it. I've worked hard enough to do it. I've survived some things. The same as you have. That's what we do in life. But you know what? We're getting more and more shit to survive put in our way by people that, well, what do you do that for? Oh, well, we've got this scheme. Oh, no, I don't want that scheme. I'm not part of it. Leave me alone. But we don't do, oh, well, they know best. Well, they don't know best, do they? How do they know best? Ask the post office managers. Ask the people who've had the blood transfusions with that infected blood. Ask the families of the Hillsborough victims whether